Hello everyone and welcome back to my videos about Corona and the Bible. This is the second video I've made. If you haven't seen the first one, I would encourage you to go back and watch that one. At this point in time, we're kind of in a lockdown state with Corona and everyone's staying inside, but I still want to take the opportunity just to talk a little bit about what the Bible has to say. And today I want to specifically talk about fear. When I was younger, my family moved houses to a brand new house that I'd never seen before, and up in the attic there's this one little dark room, and the room had a curtain in front of it, and it was just completely dark. And me and my sister, we used to be scared of that room. You know, when we first got there, it was this dark, terrifying room. We were scared of it. We didn't know what was in there. And then a couple hours later, my dad walked in, and he flipped on a light in the room, and he just walked into the room like it was no big deal. And me and my sister realized that we weren't really afraid of that room. We were afraid of what could have been in that room. Well, today we're caught up in fear as well. And this fear, unlike the room in my story, this fear is an actual real fear. It's something we should be afraid of. The coronavirus today is very scary. It's very deadly. Many of us are scared, maybe not necessarily of ourselves. We think, oh, I'll be okay, but we're scared for maybe family members. People who are elderly, people who are dealing with different health problems to begin with. We're scared for them. And you know, it's very reasonable to be scared during this time. And today we're going to talk about what the Bible has to say. What the Bible has to say is that God is in control. So let's read. We're going to read some of my favorite verses. They're in Isaiah 41. In Isaiah 41, verse 10, it says this. It says, "So do not fear, for I am with you." Now, this is the Lord talking. So he's telling people, he says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So what God is saying to the people in these verses is, don't fear. He says, don't be dismayed. The New American Standard translates that second phrase as, do not look around. Do not be anxious because of what you're seeing around you. And this is a very real thing to us because, you know, with the coronavirus, we're dealing with all the media outpouring about, talking about how terrifying it is and how horrible this is. But, you know, God's saying, don't look around you. Instead, he says, look at me. He says, for I am your God. He says, I will strengthen you and I will help you. And then he has this phrase, he says, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Now, I'm a father at this point in time. I'm a father of about a 1.5-year-old old girl. She's not quite a 1.5 years yet, but she's getting there. And she's at that age where she wants to be picked up. She likes being swung around a little bit. She loves being flipped upside down. She just loves being in my arms and doing some crazy things in my arms as far as like moving all over, wiggling all over. But you know, she does that because she feels safe in my arms. You know, there are times where maybe when she's upside down at a certain time where the only thing keeping her from falling on her face is the strength of my hands. Simply put, how strong as my hands can be is about what's keeping her safe at that point in time. Now, the good news is I have never dropped her so far. But the fact of the matter is, she's entirely reliant on the strength of my hands. And you know, my hands are human hands where they are fallible. They do mess up. But not God's hands. You know, the Bible talks a lot about God's hands. It says that the world was created by his hand. Isaiah 48. Man was formed by his hand. Genesis 2. He says he holds the earth in his hand, Psalm 95. It says he holds the 7 stars in his hand, Revelation 2. These hands are the ones that were outstretched on a cross to die for you. And in John 10, and I'm going to put all these verses in the down below so you guys can check out all these verses yourselves. In John chapter 10, Jesus says, the people that are mine are in my hand and nobody can snatch them out. That's the hand of God. And that's the hand that he says, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. We are in God's hands, and he's the one in control. And you know, the awesome part of this is just a couple verses later, In Isaiah 41, and it goes to verse 13, he repeats this idea of not fear, and he says, "For I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, 'Do not fear, I will help you.'" The awesome part of this is the God who upholds us with his right hand reaches out and takes you by your hand. And he says to you, as a loving father, "Do not fear, I will help you." This is the God that we have, the God who takes us by the hand. In his mighty hands we sit. And then he takes us by the hand. He says, "Let's go. We'll do this together." So how do we handle our fear during the midst of this coronavirus? The answer is simple. We hold on to God. We reach out. We take hold of his hand. You know, my daughter is also at the age where she's starting to walk around a little bit now. So we've started practicing walking through a parking lot. We haven't gone out to a road yet, but we'll walk through a parking lot. And whenever we walk through a parking lot, I reach out and I take her hand and I lead her through the parking lot. And as long as she's holding my hand, I can keep her protected. I can keep her safe. So let's put ourselves in God's hands. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do anything to prevent the virus. We should wash our hands. We should do social distancing. We should keep ourselves safe. But we should also trust that God is the one who is in control. Well, I hope you all are staying safe at home. I'd like to just wrap up by saying let's rely on God. So I'll see you later. We'll post another one soon.